Most people, you are, sir, and I admire that, but most people want to live a little longer. And that's the way it is with reducing spending around here. I want to reduce spending. I support it, but not just yet, because I've got this project. Well, and I've listened to that. And I've especially listened to it for the past 100 days. Go get them, President Trump. Reduce that spending. We're behind you 1,000%. Well, he has. He has. 0.1% he's asking us to reduce. And I'm not saying senators shouldn't ask questions and make some changes if they need to be made, but here's the bottom line. It is gut check time. It is gut check time. You either believe in reducing spending or you don't. And if you talk the game and say, let's reduce spending, and you vote against this bill, in my opinion, you ought to hide your head in a bag. Because you will be able to cut the hypocrisy with a knife.
What you just saw was pure political shock. The entire Senate chamber froze when Senator John Kennedy stood up and did what no one on the left ever saw coming. With precision and grit, he dismantled the Biden-era spending circus and backed President Trump's push to finally rein in Washington's reckless waste. Billions of your tax dollars have been funneled into ridiculous overseas projects, pastry lessons in Haiti, insect powder in Madagascar, even programs for sex workers abroad, while American families can barely keep food on the table. This is Right Focus, where we bring you the truth the mainstream media refuses to touch. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because stories like this need to be heard loud and clear. Let's get into it.
I want to say, Mr. President, next week, President Trump's going to send us over what's called a rescission bill. What does that mean? Well, we've got a $7 trillion budget, okay? I don't know how much of that $7 trillion is waste, but every fair-minded person would have to agree that there's some money being spent in that $7 trillion that shouldn't be spent. It just shouldn't. It's wasted money. And so President Trump and this Congress made one of its objectives trying to reduce spending. Not spending that we need to reduce, but spending that needs to be reduced. I call it spending porn. And the president has sent us a bill. He's saying to Congress, I want you to reduce spending in the current budget by $9.1 billion. And let me tell you what the spending, what constitutes the spending I want to reduce. Well, first, $9.1 billion out of a $7 trillion budget, we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about 0.1%. That's all. That's point one. Point two, you need to look at what the president's asking us to cut out. I'll just give you a couple of examples. I didn't make this up. The president is saying we're giving $3 million to Iraq to produce Sesame Street. Maybe we could use that money for something else. The president is saying we're giving $3 million to Zambia for circumcisions and vasectomies. The president's saying we don't need to do that. We've got other priorities. We're giving $500,000 to Rwanda to buy electric buses. The president is saying to us, Congress, we don't need to be spending the money on that. There are more important things. We're spending $67,000 to give insect powder to kids in Madagascar. I don't even know what insect powder is, but the president's asking us to cut it out. We're giving $3,600,000 to Haiti for pastry cooking classes, for cyber cafes, for dance focus groups, for male prostitutes. The president's saying, I don't think so. I don't think that the American people support giving their hard-earned money to male prostitutes in Haiti. So he's asking us to cut it out. He's asking us to reduce the budget by $833,000 because some of President Biden's bureaucrats gave a contract to transgender people, sex workers, and their clients in Nepal. President's saying, I don't want to do that. And he's right. That's enough. You get the idea. That's why I call it spending porn. Triggers your gag reflex. You look at this stuff and you go, what in God's name? Who decided to do this? Well, Congress didn't. The bureaucrats did. It's money we appropriated, but we didn't tell them to go spend money, $833,000, and give to sex workers in Nepal. They just took the money we appropriated and used it for that. And so the president is asking us to do what's called a rescission, to cancel the spending. Now, I have listened. I've been here 8 years, Mr. President, and I've listened to a whole bunch of people talk about the need to reduce spending. But you got to watch what people do, not what they say, because talk is cheap. And around here, I've learned pretty quickly that reducing spending, it's like going to heaven. I want to go to heaven. I bet you want to go to heaven, Mr. President. I bet our guests in the gallery want to go to heaven. But everybody wants to go to heaven. Raise your hand if you're ready to take the trip today. Most people, you are, sir, and I admire that. But most people want to live a little longer. And that's the way it is with reducing spending around here. I want to reduce spending. I support it, but not just yet, because I've got this project. Well, and I've listened to that. And I've especially listened to it for the past 100 days. Go get them, President Trump. Reduce that spending. We're behind you 1,000%. Well, he has. He has. 0.1% he's asking us to reduce. And I'm not saying senators shouldn't ask questions and make some changes if they need to be made, but here's the bottom line. It is gut check time. It is gut check time. You either believe in reducing spending or you don't. And if you talk the game and say, let's reduce spending, and you vote against this bill, in my opinion, you ought to hide your head in a bag. Because you will be able to cut the hypocrisy with a knife. It's real, real hard, Mr. President, to preach temperance from a bar stool. It's gut check time. We need to pass this bill. I yield the floor, Mr. President.
When the dust settled, one thing was crystal clear. Senator John Kennedy did what few in Washington have the backbone to do. He exposed the waste, the hypocrisy, and the endless excuses that have crippled America's financial sanity for years. Kennedy didn't tiptoe around the issue. He went straight for the truth, calling out how millions of taxpayer dollars are being burned on pointless vanity projects overseas while Americans at home struggle with inflation, high energy prices, and crushing grocery bills. He made it simple. Cutting $9.1 billion from a $7 trillion budget isn't about politics, it's about principle. Do you stand with hardworking Americans, or do you stand with the bureaucrats wasting their money behind closed doors? Kennedy stood tall. He made it clear, if you talk about cutting spending but then vote to protect this nonsense, you're part of the problem. His words hit like a hammer. It's gut check time. And that's exactly what it is, a test of courage, of integrity, and of loyalty to the American people. Leadership isn't about empty speeches. It's about standing up when it matters most. Kennedy proved that real courage means saying no to waste, no to hypocrisy, and yes to the taxpayers who deserve better. This was more than a speech. It was a moment of truth for Washington, and a reminder that when America needs a voice of reason, leaders like John Kennedy step up. If you believe it's time to hold Washington accountable, make sure you're subscribed to Right Focus, where we stand for truth, integrity, and the America First values this country was built on.